Hey guys, Josh Doyle, Innisfil Fire Training Division. Today we just want to go over a video of some of the equipment that we're going to be using dealing with COVID calls. There's been a bit of confusion kind of with some of the protocols and stuff like that, so we want to make sure that we're clear with the equipment that we're using when we're going to these calls, right? A lot of the time when we get the calls, they do come in COVID positive because of the criteria that they meet through the calling in center. So the issue is that we want to make sure that we're putting all the right PPE on the people, right? We aren't wasting equipment just because we're not sure what to be wearing, right? So we look at some of the equipment we have here, right? Obviously we have our medical bag, our small medical bag we're bringing into the calls right now, right? We have a blood pressure cuff, the EpiPens, pulse oximeters, just a very bare bones kit, but this is going to be going into all the COVID calls we're dealing with currently, right? Unless we get into some of the VSAs, confirmed airway management, stuff like that, that's when our large bag is going to go into the calls, right? Okay. We have our surgical masks, which we're going to be wearing to obviously any call we're going to be going into, right? We're going to be putting these on the responders going in. If possible, you're going to try and reverse isolate the patient, and what that means is that if they do have COVID symptoms, we want to go in there, we want to get that surgical mask on them to help them to stop spreading all the virus into the air, right? What we're going to have to do is we're going to have firefighter Stephen Bly here today. He's going to go over donning some of the equipment, and we're going to go over donning everything for a traditional COVID call that we're getting on a day-to-day basis, right? So call comes in, they might have a shortness of breath, whatever it is, it's going to come in COVID positive, right? And again, when we get to the call, we always want to try and keep that 2-meter distance if possible, right? And unless we're doing airway management, the idea of using a surgical mask, our bunker pants, gloves, gown, safety glasses should be sufficient, right? If we start getting into within that 2-meter area, or we start handling the patient hands-on, or we're doing any airway management, then we're going to have to switch into an N95 cartridge, which we have chosen to go with the cartridges for our Scott AV3000 face pieces, right? So this helps alleviate kind of the overuse of the N95 paper ones that are single-time use, right? So these are a great product. We also did a video of this last week. So we'll go through a traditional call, and then we'll look at using this mask, as well as we're going to go over the full decon of how to decon all the equipment after a call, because that's something that we want to make sure everyone is clear on, all right? So we'll have firefighter Bly start getting dressed here like he would go to a normal COVID call. So big thing, he's putting his bunker pants on, obviously, right? Because we don't want to be for kneeling or stuff like that. We don't want to get any of the contaminants on our station wear if possible, right? So bunker pants. The big thing here is that when you're putting on your gown, the thing is that you want to get a pair of gloves that are going to be nice and snug as your base gloves, right? Those are medium. Do you usually wear medium, or you usually wear a large? So usually you wear large, right? So for Steve, he's going to go one size down. They're a bit tighter, unfortunately, but what that's going to do is that's going to have him have a really good, nice, tight fit seal on his hands, right? So now we're going to get the gown on. So we'll have firefighter Dish Shepard's going to come in, because again, it's a lot easier to have one of our partners to help dress the person, especially when we get into these gowns, right? The gowns do come in 2 different sizes generally. I believe we're all running one size right now. The big thing with these is that they are not to be worn over a bunker gear coat, all right? So weather dependent, if you need to dress in the truck or the apparatus, if need be, he's going to slide his arms through, making sure that his thumbs go through the little wrist holes there, the little thumb holes, right? It's a lovely fashionable item, as we all know. Beautiful blue brings out Steve's eyes, right? So then you have someone tie that in the back, right? So you can put your second set of gloves on now. So this isn't too bad. It's not a bad idea to have someone help you with them if you have the people aid available, right? Because it can be a bit of a pain, right? So one thing that might be nice for the person that's helping here, you see all the in there, right? Make sure you take off any large watches, jewelry, stuff like that, right? Because if I do that, it should now cover most of his wristlet, right? That's the big thing, right? So again, any large piece of jewelry, rings, stuff like that, you should try to wear them, right? Obviously, if there's any sharp edges, we don't want them to cut the nitrile gloves, right? Okay? Okay. So now we're going to put on safety glasses and a surgical mask. obviously very, very similar to the traditional N95s we used to wear, right? Trying to make sure that that's kind of over the nose as best we can. So now, the only thing where we might be lacking is that if we choose to, we can put these booties on that we have been supplied. So that just helps with if there is a contamination in the home, we aren't going to carry it back on our boots, right? So we don't have to clean them off, something like that. So that's pretty good there. So now he's pretty much ready to go to the COVID call, right? So if Steve gets into the call, right, he's got his pretty little medical bag here, right? If he gets into the call and he finds that he's got to now work within that 2-meter area, or he's got to do hands on the patient, or they have to do airway management, right? We have a VSA, or we're doing a BVM, you know, we're helping brief that patient, or whatever it is, or ambulance comes in and they want to start doing oxygen therapy, we're gonna have to kind of change things up now, right? Because now the level of, because now using oxygen therapy is now going to create that aerosol, which can now be in the air. So a surgical mask isn't going to do for that. So what he can do is we're going to go with a SCBA face piece, right? And at this point, right, he should be either out of the area, right? He shouldn't have touched anything. Obviously, if he's been in the home and he's been contaminated, he's touched anything, he's got to come out, change his gloves, right? A gown if it's heavily soiled. If he's only gone in, made patient contact, talked to the person to come out, he's probably fine to come out and put that mask on, right? So again, with the AV3000s, put your face into them, right? You're going to start from the bottom up, work the bottom straps, the top 2 straps, and if you need to, you can adjust the temple strap, all right? So now it's good to go. So we have an N95 cartridge, right? They should be changed minimum of 8 hours of exposure. Again, if they have no direct exposure, it's not a big deal. They can be taken out, just disinfected, right? We can also, if we need to change the paper, we just take the cartridges apart and we can change the paper, right? So we're going to simulate that firefighter Bly has gone into the call. They've had patient contact, right? They've had a high level of exposure, whether it's from doing oxygen therapy, or they've been doing hands-on with a VSA patient, something like that, right? So the idea is, how are we going to now take all of this equipment off and deal with it safely, right? So what we're going to do is, first things first is obviously they're going to come out. If he brings any of the medical gear out, the idea is we want to keep that separate, right? So we have firefighter Just Shepherd's got a garbage bag. We have another one here too, which is perfect. We have lots of them, right? So firefighter Bly is going to leave his face piece on currently. What you want to do is you want to start with the gloves. Take that second pair of gloves off, right? Okay, take those off, right? And again, make sure that we take them off how we normally would, right? We either start from the inside, pull them off. If they're very tight, you might start from the back side, work on your way out, okay? So now he's got his second pair of gloves off, okay? Now that gown's going to come forward. He's going to pull it, rip right off. That's right. The idea is just like a hazmat call. You want to work from the kind of the inside out, right? So you want to start rolling that thing up so that as we start pushing it away from us, we aren't having that exterior piece touching any of us or our people, right? Okay. What you'll find is these bags are fairly small. If you do have a very heavily soiled garment or gown, what the other person that's helping with decon could be doing, they could also put a gown on if there's lots, right? So now he's got that off, right? So these gloves in theory should be clean, right? If you have any question about that and you're not sure, those gloves can be taken off, okay? We could get some hand sanitizer, we can clean their hands, put a fresh pair of gloves on, and then they can start finishing with taking the face piece off, okay? But here we're gonna say that these are clean. So now he's gonna take his face piece off, right? Now this is a question that we're getting a lot, or this is kind of one of the issues, right? The SCBA face piece has now been exposed, let's say, right? So what do we do with it? Do we just bag it and throw it in the bag and then bring it back in the back of the truck and clean up the hall? The question is that if you do get a call on the way back to your station, you know, and you need an SCBA face piece, you're now down one face piece, right? So one thing that you could do is you can take some of our Virox or our Excel 5, which is the cleaner that we use for a lot of our medical gear, right? You can take this and you can start wiping down that face piece, right? Okay. Again, if his gear was, as long as his gloves and everything are clean, then that's fine. You can start cleaning that stuff out, right? You can take those respirator cartridges off, take them right off, clean the mask, right? If you're not sure, you still could put it in the back of the truck, and then when you get back to the call, you could wash off with soap and water. But the idea is at least if he wipes everything off as best he can, he's now done a gross decon, and he's cleaned that to the best of his ability now, right? Again, if there's any question and you're not sure and you think maybe some of the mesh has got a bunch of stuff on it, like any contaminants, then please, by all means, bag it, and we can get it looked at, right? So now that's done, we're good to go. So let's say, so now Steve, let's say his bunker pants they're clean, everything else is good to go. What I want to talk about is the medical bags and the other pieces of equipment that we bring into the call. So this bag here, right, this is a cloth style bag, right? So unfortunately this can't absorb stuff, right? Any droplets, stuff like that. So the idea is that if this bag was obviously put down and dirty, it could be stripped, opened up, stripped clean, and then everything gets wiped down. So that being said, right, if we're wiping down any of the stuff or even our glasses that we use at that call, right, we want to make sure we have clean gloves on, a surgical mask if at a minimum, right? And these can be wiped down with the same wipes, right? They get wiped down and then they get rinsed with soap and water. So they are reusable. We aren't throwing these out, okay? The same thing can be said for any of the medical equipment, right? The BP cuffs, any of the, anything that was actually exposed, right? Anything that's reusable, we're gonna wipe it down. And again, we're gonna kind of work from the bag out, right? So we take something out, we're gonna wipe everything down, make sure it's clean, and we let that air out, right? That can be done by either a separate firefighter at that scene, so that we're ready to go as soon as we can, or if need be, it could be the same person that was doing the actual patient contact, as long as all of their PPE is clean. All right? So I really hope that makes sense to everyone. It's a kind of a long video, but we want to be very clear on how everything's working, right? This large medical bag, right, used for any, obviously oxygen therapy, airway intervention, right, if we're doing any BVM, stuff like that. This bag is obviously the big one we're going to bring in. What's nice about it is that it does have this is a wipeable material, right? It's not somewhat porous like this kind of canvas bag is, right? So again, this bag can be the same thing. It can be taken right apart, wiped down, everything can be cleaned, sterilized, and then put back into the bag, okay? All right, so if you have any questions, please email Train Division. We do have a policy coming out that'll be released Friday. It's in the books now, but it'll be released to everyone this week. And it stipulates very clearly how to do the decon.